at what point did you really start to kind of feel the effects of performance anxiety? Had you had it as a kid, or did it develop kind of when the competitive environment really took hold in adulthood? And, did you suffer through it for a while before saying, okay, I'm going to investigate this and deal with it?
When I was 13, I entered a elite boarding school in Riga in Latvia, which is former Soviet Union country. I had extreme pressure of performing really well because most people were children of elite musicians. So when I entered, I felt I was really behind with my technique. I didn't have a good social network. I was alone in the capital, in a new environment. And suddenly I found myself every performance with shaky bow, really big memory slips. And it was really a terror.
Hmm.
And 1 year in the program, I almost got expelled from the school. Actually, I was actually expelled for 2 weeks
Wow.
from this elite school and then readmitted because in my violin grade was the lowest of all the grades, which was related to my anxiousness. Um, then I found a different mentor who was the most experienced teacher in the whole entire country, who was extremely supportive, and also another private teacher. And together we worked many, many hours, and their faith in me really I'm thankful to those mentors that I'm still in the field of music and now teacher myself. I graduated the school, still battling with severe performance anxiety. But then I went abroad. I met different teachers, and eventually I entered conservatory in the Netherlands, where I studied my undergraduate degree for 4 years. That's where I first was exposed to Alexander technique and openly discussing performance anxiety as a real topic.
Hmm.
Because in the Soviet Union, post-Soviet Union countries, it was kind of a taboo. You either were a good performer or you're not meant for the stage. So it
Right.
was one or the either. So in the Western Europe, I really saw a possibility to open up and be a performer on stage. And within a year, my playing completely transformed. And I started to research more what can help my performance anxiety. And I took Alexander technique classes. But then after my undergraduate degree, I went to the United States. In 2013, I entered the Boston University with Professor Dana Mazurkevich. And I found that very supportive community in the Boston University. And suddenly I started winning competition after competition. I played concerts 3 times a week. And suddenly all of my performance anxiety was gone. And I really loved that. But then, of course, playing orchestra auditions, my performance anxiety came back.
Hmm.
In the pandemic, I read 300 books about psychology, about sports performance, all kind of books. And I was also invited to do masterclass series, and I especially studied this topic in various books, and I compiled it in a slideshow.
Hmm.
And with my experience in teaching, 10 years of experience, I started to use these techniques with my students. And not only leading up to their performances, but into our weekly classes, because we need to practice those techniques not only when it's too late, when we are already on stage and battling with the nerves,
Right.
but already in the classroom.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah, that's quite a story. It's interesting, the teacher you had here in Boston, Mazurkiewicz, so she was a student of Oistrakh, if I'm not mistaken, right? David Oistrakh, the great violinist. And so ironically, she's coming from this, ostensibly very Soviet background, of course, yet you found a lot of support with her, probably because when she moved to the States, she also changed in some respects, and maybe yeah, I don't know. Did you feel that this influence from her was positive and kind of not the typical Soviet that you described?
Absolutely. And us who know personal story of David Oistrakh more deeply know that when he was a young adult, until age of 30, he himself didn't perform well on the stage.
Mm,
So he didn't really believe his abilities to become a violinist. And most of the time, until the age of 20 is the peak of your performance. And he didn't achieve that. But at the age of 30, or even 33, suddenly his playing matured and he was able to deal with the stage anxiety. And of course, as we know, even the greatest performers, we always going to have anxiety. And that's
mhm,
why we learn those techniques that I will describe in today's class with detailed slides and real techniques. Even David Oistrakh, he was under tremendous pressure,
mhm,
traveling for the first time to the West and representing his country.
mhm,
So he had empathy for his students who were entering those huge competitions and feeling that pressure to perform. And I don't think he needed to apply extra negative pressure, which would be very detrimental to students' performance. So we really need to build the student, build confidence in the students so they can feel safe to make the mistakes on
mhm.
stage and still be okay with that. So I think Professor Mazurkevich, she was really channeling also David Oistrakh's mentality toward the music to build a community, to build a studio that supports each other and positive peer group.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think there's in general a misconception many people have that great performers are great because they don't struggle with this. Maybe that's true sometimes, but I think the majority of performers, even at the very elite level, experience anxiety. I think it's unavoidable. And what I've noticed is that the people who perform well are people that not those that learn to kind of silence all of that energy, but rather channel it so that it helps you rather than hurts you. It's that kind of extra electricity on stage that it can hurt you, but it can also be what gives that performance some interesting life and creativity. So I think that there's a misconception like, okay, we're not trying to just kind of numb ourselves because then we will feel nothing. So that's, I think, what one of the things we'll talk about today.
Right. So we have about 40 slides. So stick with us. And
Yeah.
if you can just learn even one useful method for yourself, either you are performer, professional performer, or amateur performer, music lover, or you are a teacher. Even if there is one new thing you can learn today, that's give yourself that gift today. And please take notes because notes will keep you in track. All right, so let's start with the basics. What are symptoms of the stage fright? Shaky hands and feet, weakness, nausea, sweaty or cold palms, and dry throat. Right? Anybody raise your hand if you experience any of that? You can, right? So that's really true for most people. We will have some physical symptoms of stage fright. Okay, next slide. Feelings on stage. That is actually more important than the physical symptoms because of the mind and body connection that we'll try to make today in this presentation. We also need to really think about feelings on stage. When we have stage fright, we feel like we temporarily leave our body and lose control of it. And at that moment, we need to accept it. Don't fight it. Feel. I remember when I went first time abroad to play a master class, and it was in Ukraine. Um, I went to Ukraine. I played in the master class, and my mentor already said, "You will experience the stage fright. Don't fight it. Just feel what your body is going to do." So, and I played a very complicated piece, Lutoslavsky Subito by memory. I felt my body is independent from my mind. So I needed to connect those dots and feel like I regained the control of my body. So let's dive into next slide. Stage fright and shame. the worst is to feel ashamed of the stage fright. Instead of being ashamed of it, we need to accept it as a normal occurrence, and work with stage anxiety strategies. In the pandemic, as I told you, I read many books, and one of my favorite authors is Brené Brown. I actually have two books next to me. If you are interested in reading, please read any books by Brené Brown, but especially Daring Greatly and Gifts of Imperfection. When we are entering the stage, it's like we are entering the arena full of lions, right? So our audience are our lions. And what is our brain doing? It's our natural response that is wired in our brain to get into fight or flight mode. And it's natural to experience the stage fright because we are putting ourselves under the pressure, exposure to our mentors, peers, friends, and many times judges. So try not to fight it, and don't feel ashamed of it if your bow shakes. Accept it.
Yeah, and I just to quickly comment on that, I think that's such an important first step, like accepting that this is happening and kind of almost becoming an observer of it. Allow it to happen, and just instead of reacting to it, just notice it, and it might not feel so great to do that on stage, but it's not going to be worse than, whatever other ailments you have. But it's the first step, I think, to really dealing with it, as you mentioned.
Absolutely, and this is why that's why the audience is going to live performance,
Yeah.
especially now popular chamber music concerts. There's something magical about seeing the person actually being vulnerable and being caring so much about their performance that they are showing that they're nervous. That's also, it's a part of what we sign up for as a performing artists.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now, because we have so much information to go over, let's move on. So at the moment of the stage fright, focus on the things that you can control. So there are circumstances that we cannot control. Room of the temperature, temperature of the room, right? Sorry, my English sometimes is a little broken.
It's perfect.
We cannot control who is sitting in the audience. Who had that experience that you are afraid of one person and that person is sitting in the first row? Right.
I have
So,
that fear even when they're not there.
the kid, right? So many times that it's that fearful person, scary person sitting in the first row. We cannot control that. Let's focus on the things that we can control. And we should actually practice that before the performance, and we'll do that together today. So you can control your breath. It's not going to be easy in your first 10 performances, but once you do it 100 times, many times in a row, it will become easier over time. So we will learn to control the breath today. You can control your posture. That also is going to take a lot of work to learn the proper posture. That's why all the great teachers are focusing on that so much in the lessons. And also, you can learn to control your mindset. Nobody can take away your mind. That's yours. So if you learn to control your thoughts, you'll be also able to control your body much better. Okay, next slide, please. So I do this a lot with my students. I only teach kids at this moment. My youngest student is 7 years old and my oldest student's in 12th grade, so almost 18. So we always practice already 1 month before performance or audition. We are practicing walking on the stage. I found this was the first method that really helped me to perform better on stage, because one of my teachers said in high school, look at the conservatory students when they walk on stage and they're like this, posture down, shoulders round. You already know how they are going to sound before they start performance, right? So performance starts with you walking on the stage. With confident steps, enter the stage. Smile and confidently bow to the public. And there's something about fake it till you make it. It works every single time for me. Even when I'm the most nervous, I'm gonna lift my head up with confident steps. I'm gonna go on the stage and I'm gonna bow. Really, so I practice that so much that even when I'm so nervous, people say you looked so confident.
The fake it till you make it. I think it's not quite faking it because you're kind of aligning yourself with your purpose on stage there. Because I think what one of the things performance anxiety does is it makes you forget why you're even there. You're just trying to deal with all the, you forget that you're there to share music. You forget there's an audience that actually took time out of their day to come see you. Like, oh my God. So by actually just going through the motions maybe is another way to say it. You do kind of align yourself with the purpose, and that's a good start, as you mentioned.
Absolutely. In a way, it's visualizing your performance,
Mm.
right? Performance starts with you. Even earlier than that, we will talk about your health habits later, but that's for the later slides, right? But for now, we talk about entering the stage. The moment you walk on stage, everybody sees you. That's the performance starts there. Then you can use tuning to relax your stiff muscles. For pianists, it would be you sit in your chair and you adjust the chair and feel you can loosen up your muscles. Before start playing, deeply breathe in and out 5 times. I myself recently made this mistake of not taking enough time before starting an audition. And then I just started playing
Mm.
because I think, oh, I can do this. But no, we need to adjust ourselves to this situation of being in front of the audience, being in front of judges sometimes. So take your time, breathe in and out 5 times. The first note is always an exhale. That will relax your muscles. That's really very important to connect with your breathing.
Very often, I can tell so much about a violinist based on how they tune, and that's it could be related to performance anxiety or just bad habit, but tuning really could improve your experience on stage. So if it's like, so if you're one of those people, that could be a very low hanging fruit. Like start with trying to tune in that manner, and it changes your experience. I think so. That's yeah,
Yes, and with slow bow, right? We're
yeah.
practicing with slow bows. Okay, so this is a slide I want to go over briefly. It's
Hmm.
very important also dialogue and self-talk after the performance audition. So always make an assessment after each performance what you can improve. Was it your best performance? If yes, how did you achieve it? If not, what could do better next time? But let's move on to the next slide so we can get into more techniques. So, anxiety coping through breath work and movement. In the Western Europe and in the United States, this is a very popular topic now. I'm so grateful to see that even public schools, where I'm also teaching, are incorporating social emotional learning in the classroom that brings awareness to the body and mind connection. So this is extremely helpful to start building up from very young children, also of course in university level. So if you're an educator, you can also look into social emotional learning and about zones of regulation. But for general performers who are already professionals, the first technique that I really started using, and I still use it actually every single day, I use this box breathing. Okay, what is box breathing? Inhale 4 beats, hold your breath 4 beats, exhale 4 beats, hold your breath 4 beats. So we're gonna do it together. Okay, let's do it together. So I'm gonna do the beat and you'll do it with me. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath, 3, 4. Exhale like a balloon out, 4. Hold your breath, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath, 3, 4. I do it with my orchestra classroom in the mornings. That we are practicing a lot of social emotional learning. I do box breathing, which quiets down the energy, but I also use it before every single performance because when I was in high school, and when my bow was shaking, I never was in touch with my breathing. I just knew that my heart rate was really high. My heart was beating very fast, and that probably meant that I also had shortness of breath, and my breath was shallow and too fast. So, as we can make our breath longer, our heart rate will go down and we are going to perform much better. So, those 5 minutes before you walk on the stage and you are standing behind the stage and you are about to enter, do the box breathing.
And from what I
Then,
understand, there's also, obviously many variations on that box breathing concept. A much longer breath in, or hold the breath much longer. I think something that was really useful for me is when you release all the air, hold that very long. And if you've breathed in deeply, you'd be surprised how long you feel comfortable with no air in your lungs and just kind of sitting there with nothing, with no air. And it's very, to me, very relaxing.
mhm.
And then and breathing again. So yeah, I think everyone finding their own rhythm with that, but it seems like the key is like that rhythm, that you really paying attention to the rhythm of the in, the hold, and the out.
Right. So, somebody you want to research is Wim Hof method. So I do that every morning, and this is actually prolonged exhale, and then you are not breathing in for as long as you can. Please don't just try it on the stage. That's something you should do on your own everyday practice because that can also, if you didn't do it all the time, did it first time before performance, that's not going to serve you. So these are
Yes.
techniques that you should practice leading up to your performance, included in your daily routine.
Yeah, and we have a question in the chat from Denise. She's asking, how long did it take you to incorporate these concepts so that you remember to do them?
This is an awesome question. Thank you so much for your question. So, for me, these particular routines, well, I practiced them over 10 years, but more specifically, last 4 years. I do many mindset training, I really train so much. I probably could spend another 2 hours going all the routines that I'm doing to practice my mindset, health set, and heart set in the morning because I'm really big into personal development. It took me approximately 4 years to get it automatic and have it in my daily practice. So it does take time, but any habit forms in about 90 days. Some people say 30 days, but I think it's not enough. So it will take you at least 30 days to get it like on a habit level. I would do journaling on that. So I actually use a journal every single day where I put in my routines and then I track what I have done and what I didn't do. Awesome question. So let's go into the next power move. I used to do it more. I don't do it anymore because I don't find it's necessary for me at this stage of my performance. But when I was still building confidence in myself, so I used power move. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. So everybody, let's do it together. I can do this. I'm going to play well. I can do this. I'm gonna do a good job. I practice really well.
I'm
For
going to
some
make my
people say,
ancestors
I can
proud.
do this. I can do this like Rocky, right? So you are your biggest supporter. Sometimes we have availability of supportive mentors, but many of us are not so fortunate. So you are your biggest supporter. So you have to have positive self-talk and
Yeah.
believe in yourself. And even again, if it's fake it till you make it, this is a transformational vocabulary, and you need to create your power move and positive affirmation.
Yeah,
Okay,
just a
so
quick comment on that. my version of that, and I think this is something a lot of people struggle with, is we suddenly forget every time we had some little successes or like some positive moments, just everything feels terrible. And so part of this, I think my version of the power move, whenever I had some like success or I had some feeling like, okay, this is working, I said to myself, okay, remember this. And then when things got really bad, I would always say, okay, remember that time. And like I have that really close in my memory. And it's a way, for me, it really helped me with confidence when I was just like I had zero confidence in some moment. So this amnesia can sometimes get to us, I think.
As humans, we always focusing on our mistakes.
Yeah.
So that's why it's very important to journal. Also, you can journal about your performance and specifically say what you're grateful for. I'm
Mm-hmm.
grateful that my strings didn't break. I'm grateful that I only had one memory slip today. I'm grateful that there were 30 people who showed up to my concert. There always will be something that you can be grateful for. So focus on the good things. Find 10 good things about your playing because it will start building, and try to be around positive peer group because if you're around people who are cynical and negative, try to cut your contact with them because that's just not healthy for you. Even if those are mentors, try to detach from that. Surround yourself with people who are there for you, who support you. Okay,
Definitely.
next technique is bounce in place. So all these three are like 5 minutes before you go to perform. You need to jump, but you are kind of bouncing in place, right? Like this, and shake your hands like this. What does it do? This is also from yoga, tai chi, and qigong. We are shaking out any stuck energy from our spine and any tension because when we are like this, like just before performance, we are like really nervous and tight. So shake out all your energy, all your nervous energy, and breathe. Inhale and exhale. Focus on exhale and shake out all the nerves. Inhale and exhale. One more time. Inhale, exhale. Good. So if you are really active, you can also be jumping up and down and shaking out your nervous energy.
Have
Right,
you
but that really helps me. So that comes from yoga, qigong. Been doing yoga for 5 years, and that also helped with my mindfulness practice and being in flow state and doing much better in my performance. Pre-performance ritual. I do have more things to that, but I think it's very important. Focus on breathing and do breathing exercise. So, for example, the box breathing. Practice your confident posture. So remember, your head is up, shoulders back. Create positive affirmations. Then they can be very simple. I can do this. I will do a good job. Close your eyes and think about 3 things you are grateful for. And scientists, psychologists, they have proved that a state of fear and state of gratitude cannot exist at the same time in a human brain. So when you're in state of fear, I tried this. If I can do this, you can do this. Because I can send you the videos when I was in ninth grade, how I played. And then you can watch some videos from more recent years. And I was nervous in both videos, but my performance has improved. If I can do this, you can do this. So I tried this. I thought about 3 things I was grateful for. Number one, this is a gift. I can share music today with live audience. Number two, I am experiencing the magic of performing magic of performing Bach. It can be whatever. Like you can say, I'm grateful that my favorite teacher is in audience. Remember why you play the violin. So we just experienced, or any instrument that you play, we just experienced the pandemic when all the concert halls were shut down. And now we are back to playing for live audience. What a gift is that! When we are very young children and we pick up our favorite instrument, we will not think about how can I outperform this other person? How can I win the Queen Elizabeth competition? We play music because we want to share the joy and gift of music and channel it with our audience. So let's remember the basics why we play our music instruments. Remember also, this will not be the only chance of you performing. So even like if you are performing at the Carnegie Hall, don't put this extra pressure that this is the most important performance of your entire life. Because for me, I put the same effort if I play for one person or if I will play for 1,500 people. Because otherwise, I would be really cheating the gift of sharing the music. Because always the attitude should be the same. Either you perform in the Carnegie Hall or for three people in the backyard. Always trying your best, and that also that way you're also gonna play better in the Carnegie Hall. Then, and one trick I learned from one of my colleagues was said, think that you already finished your performance. So I was a concert master for the host planet, and I was super nervous about my solo. And she said, think that you already finished the concert, and then I actually played better. So for some of us who are extra nervous, like me, wearing a necklace or like your lucky pendant, it can be helpful. And then also don't talk to other nervous performers because energy is contagious. That I learned actually in elementary school. My first teacher said that. So if you like look into an eyes of somebody else who is nervous, you can also get that energy. So I would resist doing that. And one thing that I removed from this slide, but I will share it quickly. If you're a person of faith, you can practice a prayer, but you can also otherwise just like get yourself into flow zone.
Remembering why you play the violin, and I heard recently a flute player I was talking to said the phrase "express, not impress." And that as kind of a mantra, and echoing this idea of sharing music with an audience. And then what you said about Carnegie Hall, it's interesting. Like I used to have that problem where, I was and I still am like always trying to perform in bigger, better places, pushing career forward. And after, I had a Lincoln Center debut and it was fine, but, I was quite nervous. And then I realized, oh, like this idea of, the big place. It's like, okay, I just played the big place and it's the same in some ways as everything else. And, now having that experience, kind of looking back, it gives you some perspective. So now when I play for children or when I play for whatever audience, like it's always the same effort and the same kind of, it freed me in many ways. So I can only echo that.
All right, so these are some simple steps how you can practice stage fright. Record yourself. So many times in my lessons, when I teach my students, I say, now let's record you today how your piece is going. And then immediately there's tension in the posture. Focus on not making mistakes. So, and then we talk about this. Hey, this is a stage fright, right? So, but that's also another technique you can use, putting yourself under pressure. So there's no such a thing as a perfection. So we also will talk about this further in my slides. So as you start focusing on the perfection, you're actually going to make more mistakes. So another thing, of course, everybody knows, play for your family and friends, but common sense is not always common practice. So really do the basic steps and use your family and friends as a chance to perform. Raise your heart rate by running or walking up and down the stairs and then try playing. That also can imitate like a fast heart rate. Try to imitate performance situation by playing your piece without a warm-up, because sometimes there will be some circumstances you're at audition place, there's no warm-up space and you have to play with cold hands, but then you will not freak out because you have experience of playing your piece without a warm-up. Practice in uncomfortable conditions, such as cold, hot room, uncomfortable outfits, etc. So in my blood, I'm really like a Navy SEAL because I'm gonna try to do the worst possible conditions. So I sweat in my practice, so then I bleed less in the war in my audition, right? So that's my goal. I'm gonna make myself do such hard exercise, so many difficult scales, practice in uncomfortable places, right? Because many times we arrive to festivals. Let's say I was in Greece last summer. It was so humid and so hot, but I was like, well, there's nothing I can do about this. So I'm just gonna still. I actually played like 10 concerts. I was the most overworked musician in that festival because I played in every single piece, every single rehearsal. I was playing from 8 a.m. to 12 midnight, right? So, but I was like, I'm there to do my best. I'm summoning my best. So by putting myself out there in those uncomfortable conditions and dealing with it, even in my practice sessions, then I'll be doing much better in my performance. So don't try to get your most comfortable chair, your most, I don't know, the delicious coffee before. Try to also sometimes go outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, I think that's a crucial point. Seeking discomfort, kind of as a vehicle for personal growth. Something that really worked for me when I was I was living in Switzerland when I was studying, and before recitals, I would often practice on the street, playing in the street. It was so difficult, the noise and the dry hands and the air, just everything. And I felt so prepared after that.
And then, of course, instead of trying to play perfectly, try playing the best possible version of your piece. As we spoke at the beginning of this presentation, there's somebody saying in the comments about silencing the inner critic. Right? We are putting unreasonable expectations of ourselves because now we are in this era of everybody listening to these incredible recordings online that are hyper edited. So we have unrealistic expectation that our each note should be perfectly in tune. So instead of trying to achieve that perfection, you just try to get into your flow state and do the best possible version right now, today. Perfect performance doesn't exist. If you make a mistake while performing, try to think forward. If you focus on the mistake, you might attract more mistakes. And also, make a poker face. Don't show with your face when you make a mistake. Well, if you are in a Juilliard school, when everybody knows your piece and you make a mistake, of course your professors will know that you made mistake. But for general audience, they will not notice those smaller mistakes. So try to not show when you make a mistake. Also, in a moment when you feel like you're going to have a memory slip, trust your muscle finger memory, which is why you practice many hours. So in that moment, you have to relax your posture and say to yourself, I trust my muscle memory, and that passages will come out. There's actually a specific thing we can do with our posture as a violinist by relaxing our lower back and thinking more like bending our knees and feeling our feet flat on the floor. It will relax our spine, and then we can play better with our free fingers. So this is something I found very helpful, and I actually practice this before very important concerts. Let's say exams or audience, like people that were 1,500 people audiences. I do this technique. So let me walk you through this. This is emotional freedom technique. It's a meditation affirmation method by lightly tapping at meridian points that helps to release stress, tension, and anxiety. And I cannot stress how useful this technique because it gives you positive affirmations and really helped me to play so much better within last 3 years. Let's please move on to the next slide. So these are the meridian points of our body, top of the head, in between the eyebrows, underneath the eye, underneath the nose, chin, collarbone, armpit, and also a karate point. You should do 3 rounds before your performance, but let's please do 1 round together. This is one of the most important things you will learn probably in this. There are many points, but I think this is very important. Okay, let's do it together. Inhale and exhale. All right, so say all these things together with me. Even though I will be nervous today, I'll try my best. Okay, now here, even though I'm going to have shaky hands, I'm going to take a deep breath. Even though I might have a memory slip, I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to continue playing. I am so proud of myself making all this progress with my playing. I have practiced so much, I trust my hands to perform the best. Even though I know that I will be nervous, I will feel my feet on the floor and I will check in my posture on stage. I'm proud of myself and I'm going to do the best job I can do today. I'm going to do a good job. I'm going to do a good job. I'm going to do a good job today. And then exhale and do 3 rounds of this. And it really, at the moment of that stage fright performance, speaking performance, playing your instrument, it gets into your system, right? Tapping and saying affirmations. So at the moment when you're going to miss that shift, you're going to miss that note, your body will say, hey, even though I missed this, I'm going to continue and I'm going to do my best.
It's very interesting, like with the meridian points, I think mapping a thought and a phrase onto a specific physical sensation. Kind of, I think that's what's at the heart of this. Even just doing it with you right now, I felt I was like taken out of the current situation, and it's a very interesting sensation.
I noticed that when I was doing that, I was acknowledging, even I will be nervous, I will continue doing this. Even my body is going to be shaking, I'm going to check in with my posture. So what I'm doing, I'm not shaming myself by saying, now I have stage fright, everybody can see this. No, I'm acknowledging that this will happen. I know that this will happen. That's normal. That's built in our human physiology that we will get heart rate up. As it's gonna happen, I'm gonna remember. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna miss a note, I'm gonna continue playing. I'm getting into myself into the flow zone. So in case of panic, you should look and observe your surroundings. So now look around the room and then find an object and calmly observe it. Touch and feel an object, your instrument, right? So you can feel the wood of your instrument. Feel your breath and feel the fragrances and smells in the air. So, for those of you who have panic attacks, these are actually methods to come out from the panic attack, right? So, you're getting back in touch with your senses, right? So, it can be hard first. I remember when I was performing in church services, I got so nervous playing in church service because I had to sit in the cold church and then with cold hands I would have to play solo Bach. So, and then I tried these techniques, and over time, actually, I started having less stage fright. So, it worked for me. So, you can try this. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So this is a little like additional slide. Pianist Daniel Barenboim jokingly said that at the beginning of his career, he started as violinist, and it's true. And it was really hard. So when he saw at the age of 4 that the piano has 3 legs to hold itself, he transferred to piano and never looked back. So it's like, forget about the violin because it's so hard to hold it up. So we're going to talk a little bit about the posture. So let's move on to the next slide.
His son is a violinist, hasn't figured out the three legs thing yet.
So this is also when I was in the high school, I was very afraid to drop my instrument. So even though I have very short neck, I started to use very high shoulder rest, and I wanted higher and higher and higher because I thought my instrument will drop. I will drop my bow, and it will be a disaster. So that definitely didn't help my anxiety. So why we are afraid to drop our instrument? It can be also a flute or cello or viola. It's our stiff posture, tension in shoulders, neck, and pressing down the chin. If you play your instrument, you are pressing too much, and use of tense technique. What to do? Try to shift the weight from one foot to another during the performance. So I'm so grateful to my professor Bela Keys. So thank you so much. I'm studying with her right now. I learned the Tai Chi figure eight. Right, Tai Chi figure eight. It's actually the mathematical figure eight. It's not the right, so it's the infinity eight. So everybody, please stand up. I'll remain sitting. So try to feel the weight from one foot to another and draw a figure eight. Right? Feel the weight in your feet. Be like a tree with big roots. So it feels really grounding to think about that our posture doesn't end with our feet, but our energy extends. It's like roots in the ground, feeling your weight. Instead of pressing down the chin and tightening shoulders, try to lift your chin. Move your instrument slightly and move your head. So this, if somebody would tell me this in high school, I would say, you are joking. I'm not gonna lift my head up because my instrument's gonna fall. Right? But then I tried it, and it actually the less constricted we are. So I switched to much lower shoulder rest for several years. I played without the shoulder rest because my other teacher, Gordon Nikolic, I took some lessons. He said, try playing without shoulder rest. And then I tried, and my fear of dropping an instrument actually. I lost that fear of dropping the instrument because I tried as I played to move my head around and lift my chin up and down, and I saw my instrument's not gonna fall, and my posture really improved. All right, so in the picture here, you see the famous teacher who many of you don't know. Her name is Kato Havas, and I'm not sure if it's okay, but I want to show the book here. Real quick, there are two books by Kato Havas. You can do your own research. Do this with me, please. Hold your instrument only with chin and shoulder, and then try placing both hands on your head. And then exhale and say, ah. Everybody look at Daniel. Good job, and exhale. Did you see how his shoulders relaxed and his violin went down? Really awesome job. You see, and the violin didn't fall. And now try to bend forward. Try to bend forward. Violin didn't fall. Then swing your hands. And then violin didn't fall down. So, first time when I tried this myself, it was really hard. So, find somebody who can assist you, your mom, brother, sister, to help you. This is for teachers, but also if your parent, if your child is a musician, this is very important information. The support of the mentor. One unthoughtful and mean comment of a teacher or mentor can leave everlasting detrimental effect for a student, sometimes for the duration of the whole career. Try to only give constructive criticism. Never put down students' performance, but find the right words and strategies to improve students' playing without hurting students' feelings. So that definitely happened to me. I was in that kind of environment that it was normal to give mean comments, not only by peer group and other students, but even teachers. They were not mindful giving those comments, and they were hurtful. So those words can stay and us children are very sensitive. They pick up things in different ways than adults. So we want to build their confidence, build their trust. So don't say mean comments, but always think, how can I say this that it helps my student, but will not hurt their feelings, or even worse, hurt their self-esteem.
Yeah, I
Let's
think
move to the
a lot of times teachers aren't even trying to hurt their student necessarily. They're hurting someone because they were hurt, or there's a vicious cycle about it. And I like this idea of kind of breaking the cycle because I had a teacher who did hurtful things to me, and then I was angry, but later realized it's because she was hurt, and so I'm like, okay, I'm stopping this cycle now for the rest of eternity. Like that lineage is dead. So
Right. And this is it's so important to find those positive mentors. Yes, and I think in Western Europe now we have so many books, and I have read so much, so we can learn to be those positive leaders. Believe in our students, build their confidence. There's enough of negativity going on in the world. They don't need extra bad things happening by you saying unthoughtful comments.
definitely.
Right. And I also believe energy we're putting out in the world, it will come back to us sooner or later. So those kids sooner or later, they will be adults. So either you can build that studio. I'm very grateful to have students who already have studied with me for 5 years. And actually, most of my students studied with me for 5 years, and I never asked them to stay in my studio. So I think the energy I put in, it comes back to me so that they would like to stay with me. So, but,
Hmm.
but in overall, I see them as the next generation. Even if they don't want to be musician,
Yeah,
they are valued community member, right? So they'll appreciate the music. So there's a lot of life skills in learning musical instrument. So next slide for educators. It is extremely important in our lessons to have supportive atmosphere and openly discuss the topic of the stage fright. Make the student feel that any outcome of their performance, as long as they practice and try their best, will be sufficient. The more confidence you build in your student, the better will be the outcome of the performance. So we all know those cases that somebody is unbelievably gifted virtuosic player and go on stage and miss like whole entire passages, right? So allow your student to have those performances and be supportive. That happened to me when I came to Boston University. I didn't play perfectly, but my professor said, you played so musically. There are so many good points. Your sound was so good. Your first chords were so beautiful. So every single concert, I started to play better and better. So allow your student to miss those. The performance already happened. It's too late. You cannot change anything. By you saying now you screwed up your performance, the next concert will be the same or worse. So find that affirmative words. So use it as a training ground. Think like you are a coach for Olympic athlete, right? So there will be times that you'll not perform your best. But my job, why I'm hired as a teacher, is to make you play better, not to shame you in your performance, right? So be very mindful. And if that happens, that student really missed everything, find words of courage, not to really not to have traumatic experience, because otherwise the student will never recover from that. Listen to your students carefully with empathy and be emotionally present. And I do understand that not everybody is available to be so vulnerable and to put yourself in that position. But I invite you, all of the educators, try to summon your best and be emotionally present with your students. Don't compare your students with each other. Be careful with your comments about the performance of the student, as it can reflect in their feelings of overall confidence and feelings of self-worth. And create an emotionally safe, welcoming and present environment at your teaching studio. So I have experience of both, being in supportive studio where everybody is encouraging each other, or being like competitors, and it's just very unpleasant experience. And I think we are passed through those times, and I believe in building community. And for me, envying somebody who's doing better than me, that's not going to make my life better. So if I want to be doing better in life, I better join a positive mindset. Okay, shaky bow. The vertical pressure of the bow is too strong. Tension in the right hand, especially thumb. Tight elbow, but too loose wrist. What to do? Balance out the feeling of all fingers. Let's take the bow in the right hand and relax your thumbs. I see so many students playing with thumb like this. So open your thumb. And then move your index finger forward, like Professor Bela Keys says, big hand, right? So index finger forward. Distract your attention from the bow motion. Instead, focus on the freedom of your armpit. And now we're going to try the wavy bow. Let's go on this next slide, please.
Yeah, I think this is relevant for flute players as well, you know. So not just people with bows.
Right. So basically, if you play an instrument, think about keyboard, your hand hanging down in the keyboard, right?
Yep.
So shaky bow solutions. If your string player is a baby bow, you're focusing on the armpit, and feeling is the same as string crossing, but stay on one string. I was in the concert in a live performance in the Netherlands, and Leonidas Kavakos was playing Sibelius Violin Concerto, and he played the long note, and I saw him doing the wavy bow, and I said, "Wow, maybe he's nervous, but also he's practicing a good technique." So if you play string instrument, do it with me. So as you see, I'll do it very big now. So I'm gonna do wavy hand. Right? And then this is something you can do in your warm ups, also daily practice. When I was in high school orchestra, I was the worst because I was so nervous to miss a note, and my long notes were just shaking off the string. And then I was a concert master for a Goretzky symphony that it was all long notes. My bow
Hmm.
was so shaky in the first rehearsal. Then I went to my professor, "Please help me. I'm a concert master and my bow is shaking." And then for 1 week we worked on the long notes. And then I
Hmm.
played well. So he taught me this. Thank you very much, Professor Benzion Shamir in the Netherlands, who taught me this technique. So yes, that's something also you can practice in your daily practice. And for if you play another instrument, think about putting all of your weight in your instrument. Don't hold it up there. Find that figure eight or round movements in your joints.
Something that I discovered that was really important to me was this idea of, okay, thinking of all your joints as levers. You have a big lever, smaller, and smallest, and realizing that the lever you use or activate, the shakier things are going to be. And so if you look at like the way people do eye surgery and like the way surgeons make incisions, sorry for the graphic content, they won't, if it's something very precise, they won't do it like this. They'll do it from here, like this. Because using a larger, more massive lever and kind of not activating the smaller ones results in a much more stable motion. So when I do these long bows, especially like approaching the frog or something, I try to make sure I'm not activating anything here, that I'm like moving it like a big ship across the ocean. So that's something that worked for me. I don't know. Have you ever experienced that kind of big versus small distinction?
Yes, this is of course muscle control, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a very useful point.
Mm.
Thank you very much. Okay, and then moving on, a little bit about diet and
I'm getting
herbal tea.
hungry.
Yes, so body connection. So many times when we drink so much coffee, I used to drink 6 cups a day. I made a huge, massive diet and exercise adjustments to deal with my anxiety, which is always ever going ongoing process. But in the concert day, you could try to decrease your caffeine intake and try to replace with chamomile or mint or tea. Or you can, if you really cannot do without coffee, you can try using decaf. Bananas contain natural beta blockers, so that's why many teachers say eat a banana before your performance, and then dark chocolate gives extra energy without the danger of the sugar crush. Physical and mental well-being a cure for the stage fright. High quality sleep, at least 8 hours. I actually tried last 10 days. I went to a conference in Los Angeles in the New Year's, and then I'm also reading an amazing book called Peak Performance by Brad Stulberg. He was training Olympic athletes, and he said you have to maximize a high quality sleep before your performance, and I did it myself last 10 days. I feel like I'm born again, and I'm just so energetic and feel so good because your brains can work better, your bodies can work better. Arrive to performance venue early. Add buffer time for traffic. There's nothing more stressful than being late for the audition or concert. I've done that, running on the stage, being half dressed when I was in my
That's what my
undergrad.
pianist does on every concert.
Right? But now I'm always 1 hour early. Wear comfortable outfit and shoes, no heels. You see, comfort is better than unbelievably high heels, and then you can't play because you cannot balance your posture. Done that in my ninth grade when I played Mendelssohn concerto, and the only thing I could think was my shoes. I didn't think about playing the concerto. I was thinking how to stand on those tall heels. Take layers with you to adapt to the temperature of the venue. Put your phone on don't disturb mode and silence your notifications. Digital distractions, right? That's also a really detrimental, has detrimental effect on the flow state. Myself battling addiction to the phone, right? So I'm trying
You're
to
not
put my
alone.
phone in the drawer. That's my New Year's resolution to use my phone less. So put it on don't disturb mode because you don't want to receive stressful messages before your concert. Take extra strings with you or whatever supplies for your instrument that takes away the anxiety of what if my instrument breaks. Okay, next slide. Exercises that can support understanding body and mind systems to prevent and eliminate stage fright. Yoga. And there are many types of yoga. Breathing exercises. Walking. Such basic thing as walking. Wim Hof method, which is cold exposure and breathing exercises. Meditation, Alexander technique, and Tai Chi. So all of these techniques will help you to go in the flow zone and clear your mind. Because what we experience as stage fright is racing, uncontrolled thoughts. So we need to practice clearing our mind. It's not easy, but with years of practice, you'll be able to do that, and that's going to help you.
Barney is asking, how do you handle a broken string during a performance? Yeah, what have you ever had one of those
Oh
unfortunate
yes.
situations?
Absolutely. When I was a kid, well, there's so many stories, but my teacher, that's a Splitalisova in Stockholm's music school, she played a concert and like few measures in, she broke E string. And she said, oh, my string broke. Just wait and I will change my string. It was just so normal.
Hmm.
So I took it as an example. So if you play a string instrument, it's completely okay. Your string broke? Take a break. Just tell your audience, my string broke. And then you'll just go and change your string. If you play in the orchestra, if you're a concertmaster, you'll pass along your instrument to the back of the section and borrow the assistant concertmasters. Right? So take it as a normal routine. It's nothing extraordinary that your string broke. Just
Yeah,
change it and then continue
yeah. And the
playing.
funny thing is that when that happens to you, you feel like, oh my god. But actually, that it's at that exact moment that you win every single person in the audience because they're all suddenly like feeling kind of bad for you. Like everyone, I think the energy suddenly becomes very positive. So you can kind of use it as a way to reset if you're nervous. That's happened to me. Much worse has happened to me. I was playing G minor fugue of Bach, and my bow hair came out of the bow.
Yeah.
Yeah, gone. I have it on video. I have evidence. And so I had to go. I just went back. I'm like, backstage, got a coda bow and tried it again.
Right. So at this moment as well, that comes our stress management.
Yeah,
How are we going to handle this?
definitely.
So yeah, so try to take a deep breath. Nobody died, right? So nothing
Not
terrible
yet.
happened. So you just take a deep breath and you think, okay, what's the next step I can do? I can change a string or I can borrow an instrument from somebody else. Also, this is a slide that I was resistant to put in, but I am a person who goes all the way in. So I'm willing to put myself deeply into it. Stage fright is highly related to unresolved emotional issues in life and sometimes associates with unresolved emotional trauma. Not always, but sometimes. The more confident you feel in life, the more confident you'll feel on the stage. Don't be afraid to ask extra support and help to your private teacher, trusted mentor, family member, friend, or therapist or coach. And I'm really open always about this discussion because many times as a private teachers, we are there as a trusted mentors. So if we empathetically listen, sometimes more issues will come, but we have to build our confidence in real life and really have a holistic whole being going into the performance. So you can take extra coaching. Essential oils, aromatherapy against stage fright. I'm big into essential oils. I have a collection of about 40 oils, and Daniel knows because I always talk about this. And I have had positive and negative comments about
You
sometimes
gave me
people
one
say,
before my concert once.
right.
It was kind of
Um,
nice. I liked it.
Usually people like it, but now I started to use them less because I had one comment in last summer when somebody said it smelled really bad. So, which oils to use? You can try chamomile, lavender, peppermint, ylang ylang, and frankincense. Okay. Life practices to build performance muscle. Get out of your comfort zone. As this is I do these things. Take cold shower or contrast shower. I take a cold shower and I also take an ice bath, and there's an evidence about it in our upcoming slides. And it really built my core. Right. I also lift weights. I used to lift heavy weights, something like, as you see, my heaviest lift was, I think, 150 pounds deadlift. So if your core is really strong, it projects also in your performance. Speak out your opinion. I am a very shy person and I never spoke up when I was in the high school. I just wanted to disappear out of the room. But you can practice speaking out your opinion or your voice because your opinion matters. And if you are going to speak out more, you also will be more confident on stage. You can attend acting classes, tell a speech in front of a people because it's the same kind of stage anxiety, telling a speech in front of the audience or performing a piece. You can try for memory slips. You can try to practice your memory by reciting a poem in front of your family.
Something that I really benefited from, when I started to make this connection between public speaking and playing the violin, what I tried to do when I spoke, and I haven't tried reciting a poem since grade school, but really trying to tell a story with whatever I'm saying, if it's relevant, to kind of form something as a narrative. And that helped me a lot with speaking publicly. And then lo and behold, I think when we play our instruments, we have to overcome the instrument itself and become narrators of some kind of story. And that was, for me, very transformative.
Being a channel, right? So
Yeah.
actually, in my best performance ever, I played Vivaldi Summer in Lithuania. I was nervous before, but I entered such a trust in myself. I was playing without a conductor,
Mm.
leading the orchestra and playing solo. And Professor Dan and Yuri Mazurkevich were in the audience. I just felt so confident. And somehow I channeled the music.
Mm.
Was it perfect? Were there some intonation things? Yeah, but everybody said You were so confident. You looked like conductor. And that is also on YouTube. And it doesn't matter if I sounded like the best violinist in the world, but I was channeling the music. I was fully in the flow.
Absolutely.
That was my flow state. And for a concluding slide, this is from the book Peak Performance. Consistency was another way to tamp down terror. And I
Mm.
think everybody should read this book by Brad Stulberg called Peak Performance. So people who are Olympic athletes will always have the same morning routines. And I do the same morning routine. Always have the same breakfast, same warm-ups. In the violin playing or instrument playing, do the same warm-up every time. Right? So that is your basic warm-up. Say even if it takes 10 minutes, be consistent. Your consistent habits will add up and it will tamp down the terror on the stage because you'll just go in the flow zone. On the good days and bad days, you always show up.
Mm.
Show up, put yourself in the arena, right? So you are there with the lions. You are the hero. You already showed up. Now it doesn't even matter how you played. You were brave. Be proud of yourself. Surround yourself with people who support you and celebrate your wins.
Maybe while we have this slide up, I can ask you just what are your thoughts on improvisation and how it relates to stage fright, whether that's something you've experimented with?
Yeah, so improvisation is, I see it as a different skill, right? So some people are very comfortable to improvise, some people are not because it also shows your creativity. About the stage fright, I think it's something psychologically that you are exposing your vulnerability to create art at, uh, at the real time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you need to build your self confidence that the art that you are doing that is really good, you believe in yourself and you show your vulnerability. Now at this moment I create in front of you this music.
Yeah. In my experience with improv, what's also helped is just even just doing it in the practice room. I think it is kind of terrifying if you're not experienced in improv to just like do it on stage. But even of just taking a scale and messing around with it in the practice room, you suddenly have a realization that, music is not just what's on the page. Music is an interaction between you and the page and this kind of concept. And you can kind of change things and you can do something different here. And improvisation, of course, can mean different things, like not necessarily changing notes in the classical sense. We have ornamentations and all that kind of stuff. But for me, it was very power. It made me feel powerful that, I'm in control of the sound, let's say.
Right, and I think improvisation is a skill to really also practice. Don't just try it first time on the stage. The more
Yeah,
you can
that's for sure.
practice, right, the more you practice, the better you'll be. So have some kind of prompt. Let's say, oh, I'm gonna do it G major, skipping thirds, and then I'm gonna do this chord in the middle. Then I'm going to pluck. So when I do improvisation, I still have structure around it. I actually did teach improvisation to some beginner students in public
Hmm.
schools, and then I said, okay, let's think about 5 different techniques we can use. Like to say, you're gonna do tremolo, you're gonna pluck, you're gonna have one chord, you're gonna have dynamic change and an accent. So
Yeah.
once you already have sort of a structure in your mind, that's gonna take away from your performance anxiety, okay? Because
Yeah,
if you come
definitely.
like a blank page, like why do I have this many slides? Because I know English is my third language. If I'm gonna be nervous, I'm gonna forget what to talk. Right? My high performance coach, he doesn't use so many performance prompts because speaking in front of public is his daily job. So he would use less notes. I think over time, if I do enough presentations, I might be okay with 3 slides. But at this moment, I need 41 slides because I might forget what I'm saying, right? So know what you need.
I come from a background where I played guitar very seriously before I got serious with violin. So my first thing on violin, it was like, how can I go? Like, how can I do this stuff? And also the Beethoven. So, yeah, maybe. playing a different instrument and just messing around with that. I think it all goes to the point of getting out of kind of a routine that hasn't really worked for you. Maybe what you're doing is causing an issue. And sometimes it's these random curiosities that can spark light bulbs in your mind. Yeah, thank you so
Yes,
much for sharing all
of
these
course, and
techniques.
thank you so much one more time for giving me this opportunity to present about this very important topic, and I encourage everybody continue reading books. Taking courses, like it's so amazing that you are taking tone base, because anything that you can learn, these are actually two books that
Hmm.
Daniel showed now. Cut Off How a Stage Fright, Casey McGrath, Karen Hendricks, and Tanya Smith, Performance Anxiety Strategies I used in
Good
this
ones.
presentation. But then also, of course, Mihaly, Csikszentmihalyi, Flow, right, Flow, then
It's a great one.
Brene Brown, Daring Greatly, and Gifts of Imperfection. So any kind of book that talks about performance psychology will also cover about anxiety. So anything that you can read, be a reader, be a leader in your community, do the extra work, because after there's no traffic at the extra mile.
Hmm.
Be the one that you go further.